All right, so I am in OnShape here. We're going to start to create the different drawings or part drawings for our 5 different blocks that we need to create for our puzzle block. So I'm going to come right up here to where it says create when I get that. But before I do that, I just want to kind of point out here this layout of the main screen on OnShape, how it kind of has all your files. It's keeping them and it's storing them here on the cloud, so you can kind of uh, have them here as a storage area. Now, you don't want to just count on the cloud, of course. You'll want to download those and save those in your Google Drive under the 3D drawing folder, or under Inventor, because we've created an Inventor folder there in your Google Drive um, for this class. So however you want to do it, just remember you've got to store it in a place where you're going to remember it's at, so that you can always come back and open it up and uh, pull it back up whenever you are in need of it. So here I'm going to create, and in this case, it's going to be a new document. First, we're going to start to name the document. I like that aspect here, so because it lets me make sure that I don't make any mistakes right away. I can start by saving the document and naming it just the way I want. So this is black body hyphen, remember our file naming system, F for your first initial and then last for your full last name, and I'll hit OK. Now you have the drawing for black body that's in the Google Classroom assignment, so you can kind of open up the picture image of the actual drawing file. We're going to be testing this is kind of a test here on your blueprint reading skills, so that you can take a look at that print. We want you to actually read the print and then reproduce it here when you create this particular file block. So when you create a new file or a new document, as it's called in OnShape, you have your drawing area right here, and it opens up and you're seeing a front sketch plane, the top sketch plane, the right sketch plane, are the right planes per se. They're not sketch planes yet. We got to define them as such. But and of course, this little circle right here, that is your origin. So that's your X0, Y0, Z0 on all these planes, and you can see how they're connected with each other. Right over here to the right, we've got our view cube, so we can kind of rotate around between planes if we want. So very easy, just by clicking on different parts and aspects of the actual view cube to get it to where you want. And of course, there's arrows that we can use to move things around too. And right here, with this little button here, if we click down that, you'll see we can kind of go isometric, dimetric, trimetric. We've got zoom to fit. We've got different types of shading options here as well. So lots of different ones. I know you guys don't know what dimetric or trimetric means, but you do know what isometric means, and that's going to be the main one that you'll be kind of putting in here and using anyway. So on the left-hand side here, this kind of shows you a routing, and you're going to see this build as we go too. So I'm going to start here with a sketch, similar to all sorts of different types of CAD programs. You have some type of a toolbar with all your tools. OnShape is no different, so consider this right up here as your toolbar. And I'm going to left click on sketch to create a new one. All right, now it wants me to select the sketch plane, and for all of our drawings, we're going to draw and sketch on the front plane. Notice as soon as I left clicked on that front plane, I get the sketch 1 come up here, and we're ready to kind of do some sketches. So I'm going to rotate around my front viewing plane here. And for this particular exercise, I'm going to just use my corner rectangle. Now, as you guys are looking at the dimensions on the block, think about what the overall length, width, and depth, or as we typically call it, the width, the height, and the depth of the part is, and draw accordingly. So my suggestion as you start to solve these problems is you start with the full block, fill it in, and then you start to remove material where it's at. So in this case, I'm going to start and I'm going to select this corner. I'm going to left click it, and then I'm going to move my mouse up and to the right, and I'm just going to left click again to place it. I'm not worried about any type of dimensions or sizes, because as soon as I left click that, I'm going to get the boxes to open up, me to actually change and make the dimensions the way I want them. So you'll see here now that 1.92 is kind of highlighted, so I'm just going to change that to 1.5, hit enter, and then it bounces over to the other box. We'll say 1 on that now. So now I've got my width of 1.5 and my height of 1. If you make a mistake, it's not a big deal. So you can kind of come back in here and change these. So as you go, so we'll show you that. So if you just see that, you can kind of click on it and say if I wanted to change that to 2, I could change it to 2. Not a big deal. But obviously we don't want 2, so let's change that back to 1.5. And there we've got our block. I'm done. This is the only part of the sketch here that I need. So let's go ahead and click the green check mark. I'm going to come back over here and bring my isometric view back up. So now I need to extrude it. So if you go and start to look through and at all the different types of tools that are available here, you'll notice right here's my extrude tool. So I'm going to left click on that, and then I need to tell it what I want to extrude. So I'm going to select the shape of the sketch. So here's the shape. And as you can see, this now is extruding coming out towards us, out of the screen. And I see an arrow. If I click on that arrow, it moves it, sends it to the other direction, which is the direction I usually prefer to go when I am drawing. And then I just need to change the actual depth. And we know from looking and reading the print that this depth is 0.5 or half an inch. So I'll enter that in. Now notice as we're looking up here on the extrude kind of menu, it starts out with new, but we can add material, we can remove material, we can have the sketch be intersected. As we look down here to the end type, so if we click this drop down arrow, we can have a blind end, we can have symmetric, up to next, up to face, up to part, up to vertex, or through all. We'll talk more about those as we go. For right now, it's just going to be blind, and we're going to set the dimension to what we want, which is half an inch. And I click the check mark, and now I've got my block, basically a 1.5 by 1 by half inch block. So we know that this is kind of a U-shaped block, and we've got that cut out on this. So I need to now go and create a second sketch. So I'm going to sketch now. Asking me again for the sketch plane. In this case, I'm going to sketch on this plane right here. I could sketch up here on this one to get it as well, so it doesn't really matter which plane I sketch on so long as it's in the right location and the right shape. But I think it's easier for you to kind of work from the front view on these. So here's my sketch plane. I'm going to go back to the front view. So, and again, we're going to draw a rectangle that matches the shape of that U. And as we're looking at that, we know that the cutout part to give us that U measures a half an inch by half inch. Now, so I'm just going to come in. Now notice I could draw right here on that block, but I need to kind of constrain my sketch a little bit. And by that I mean I want to attach it to this top part of the block. So notice as I bring my cursor up, I get that highlight. It kind of selects that and is going to constrain the top line of my sketch to that. If I come over here to the corner, notice I can also constrain the corner, and I can just kind of draw over to there and make my rectangle that way. So that's similar to what we would do in the L-shaped block that we're doing. And I could say, okay, at this point, whatever set my dimensions, whatever they should be, I could click that, and then I could come in here. Let's go back to the isometric view, and at this point I could extrude that as well. Click on that shape and it comes out. I can flip that to the other direction to go out that way, but instead of adding it, I wanted to remove it. So, and then I can check that, mark that, and you got the L-shaped block. this is not what we want. Of course, that connects that corner. That's not what we want. So I'm going to come right back here to Extrude 2, and we're just going to come down. We're going to delete that because that's not what we want. And I don't need that sketch 2 either, so we'll delete that sketch out of there as well. In this case, so let me go back. Let's create a new sketch again on this plane. So come back to my front view. And notice now with my rectangle, I'm just going to kind of select it here at this point. And I'm going to go over now. I'm going to place the square, and then I'm going to set what the dimensions of the square sketch are. So we're 0.5, I hit enter, 0.5, I hit enter. So that defines the dimensions of that sketch. And it comes up. But if you're looking at this, while I've got that square and I'm ready to kind of cut that out, it's not really showing and telling it's not in the right location. So I got to put that square in the right location on my block. And in order to do that, I'm going to use a dimension constraint. So I come right back up here to my toolbar, and you'll notice this tool right here is your dimension to create a constraint. So I left click on that. Now, looking at the print, I know that from this line to this edge is a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to use that to place this square where it needs to fall and be in the right location on my block. So I'm going to left click on that. I'm going to move over here. I'm going to left click that. Notice I get a dimension pop up. So I'll just left click to place that. And then, of course, we're going to change that from 0.314, where it was when I set the rectangle, to 0.5. And it's going to move it over into place in the right position. Now I've got that where I want. So I'll click the check mark, come back here to my isometric view so I can kind of watch what's going on here. And then I need to extrude that as well. So now, once I'm into extrude, notice I can kind of click on this part and it'll come out. It looks kind of neat. Not exactly what I want though. If I go back the other way, kind of shows you how that looks with that. But that's not what I want there either. So I'm just going to cancel out of this. So I can come back now and let me try a different extrusion. So this is where you need to make sure you select the right part of the sketch that you want. So which in this case is this little square right here. So I'm going to select that. Notice it's coming out of the screen. And we're adding that material. We don't want to add it. We want to remove. We want to cut that material. So I'm going to select remove. And again, this is blind. So notice how far over that's going. It's showing it's going 1 inch. Well, that's too far because we know that the depth of our block is only 1/2 inch. So rather than doing a blind removal here, we're just going to say through all. And that brings it back and it just cuts through the actual physical block that we've made. Click your check mark, and now we've got the shape that we're looking at. So let's go to the front view. Looks like what we want. So I'm going to go to my right side view. Looks like what we want. Come back now to the top view. That looks like what we want. So we're in pretty good shape on this one. The only thing left that we need to do is to give it some color. And we said that it's going to be a black block. So coming over here to the right, you'll see this little 3 circles, which is the appearance panel. And we're going to left click on that to open it up. Come right back up here to add a face appearance, which is right here. And this is where we get our color palette. Now, before I do any of this, I got to kind of tell the program which surface or what I want to have colored. Well, in this case, we want the whole block, so I'm just going to window over everything and select it. Notice how all of the different faces pop up here, and we'll select black and hit the check mark. And now I've got that saved there as well. You are good to go on your black block. This is correct. I'm finished with this at this point. So I can just come right on over here and go back to Documents in OnShape, and I've got that black body BlackBlock finished and ready to turn in. Now, you can't turn it in from the cloud. You'll have to actually download that particular drawing file. So you'll have to download that to your drive and then bring that back up and upload it into the assignment and attach that to the assignment in Google Classroom. So this is how we create the BlackBlock here using OnShape.